Okay guys, quick update with Bitcoin. So in this video, I'm going to give you the next point going to heavy short, next point going to heavy long. I'm going to give you your macro targets and key support resistance levels to swing trade. This chart's very important. We're going to cover this. Again, this chart tells me that we're beyond the point of no return. I'm going to show you why I believe we have a lot more downside. Guys, if you don't like this content, don't leave a like. And if you don't want to be notified in future videos, make sure you do not subscribe. So we're going to come back to this chart. I noticed a lot of people were leaving comments in the last video. So Steve, it's been like a week. How come you haven't made a video? Well, the last video I put up, everything played out. This video here, guys, if you haven't watched this video, I cover everything in the macro. This has to do with the stock market, earnings reports, when I expect us to have a major drop, and why. So watch this video. If you haven't watched this video, this is a very important video to watch. I'll link up now if you want to check it out. This video here was on September 13th. This was a recap of a previous video telling everyone I told to short at this ring at 22,400. Next point to catch a bounce was around 19,600. And this is one trade that did not play out. But guys, it's about risk management. You can't win them all. We can cover this as well. So these are rings, guys. This is where I said too long at 18,650 around that area. I said everybody to short around this point, and this is where I told everyone to go into a long, but to set a stop loss in case it breaks, because once this ring breaks, guys, it is only down from here. We'll cover that as well. I'm going to come back to this chart. I'll explain to you why this area is so important and why I think it will play out like this point here. And keep in mind, guys, this vertical red line right here is the FOMC meeting, which is coming up very soon. I think it's on the 21st. Guys, if you want to access these charts, website is opticalcrypto.com. Link in the first comment description. $49 gives you access to Bitcoin charts, Discord, and Twitter. This is our Discord. This is under live trades. I'm not going to go through all these. We did very well over the weekend. I'm going to show you the few calls that played out, the one that did not. This guy says, thank you, Steve. Started with 500 last week, started at 1,500. There's other ones you can go through, and, well, if you get access, you can see these for yourself. But everybody was making good gains. And I noticed, and I'll show you the call, but I noticed a lot of people set a stop loss, and the stop loss did not trigger. Not triggered for me on Binance. First long trade so far with the loss. This person said Kraken, it did not trigger. My Bybit liquidated me, stop loss did not trigger. KuCoin triggered, way lower than stop loss. Guys, the reason I chose BitGet is because they are licensed in the US. I trust them. I've never had a stop loss not trigger. A lot of these people set a stop loss, it did not trigger, and some people did get wrecked. So, stress enough, go with the ones that are registered in the U.S. because they have regulations that they have to abide by. This person here says, Shane B, I'm curious to know if anyone whose stop loss was triggered late or did not at all were on Binance Exchange. BitGet stop loss worked beautifully for me and minimized my loss. So guys, it is so important to practice risk management and that you use an exchange that you can trust. I trust BitGet, guys. If you want to sign up to use BitGet, my affiliate link is pinned down in the first comment description. And if you do want to watch the tutorial video, how to get one of my charts into BitGet, how to set up a long, a short with the stop loss, and how to adjust your stop loss after you enter. I'll put a link up to this video now. Make sure you check that out. So this was September 14th, guys. So when you do sign up, I keep you updated on Twitter and in Discord. This is where I was talking about this ring. Let's expect some more downside. Said I entered my trade. I'm in a short, and I was telling everyone I was telling you where to take profit. And I was at a loss, and then it started dropping. I was staying in. I knew where our resistance level was. And you see how this played out. We dropped all the way down to my target, which was 19,167, right? I said, this is where I took profit. I took profit. I got out, said, this is the point you want to long. You can see right here. We pushed up from that point. We were in a rising wedge. I said, this is the point you want to short at 20,144. You can see right here. We dropped down from that rising wedge. And I already gave you your targets. I was saying, look, if we came down, this is the next point to potentially long, right? This ring. Now, the reason that I wanted to long that ring was because it's a very key support level. Once that ring breaks, there's a lot of downside. I'm going to cover that in just a minute. But I was up in my trade. I was up $850. Now, I could have cashed out in profit. I could have put my stop loss just above, and actually I told people to do that to protect themselves. Once you enter your trade, you're in profit, you set your stop loss above. That way, if it comes back down, you break even, you make a little bit of profit, but you don't lose money. Now, I had my stop set down below. I was risking it to stay in. I did get stopped out. I lost about $1,700 in that trade. But other people that their stop loss did not trigger, they lost a lot of money. So again, I can't stress enough how important it is that you use an exchange you can trust. This is where I was telling everyone to protect yourself. This again, I was showing you, and I'm going to cover this as well. This is why I think that we have a lot more downside. But I said, and I was making sure that everybody understood this. So you can adjust your stop loss above where you entered to play it safe. You do not have to have your stop loss as far as mine. I cannot stress enough how important this orange ring is and why I longed it. If ring breaks, then I expect the same thing to play out like the previous ring shown here. And that is when we were up around 42,000, 40,000, where I said to short this line. This is what I'm calling the God line right here. And right here, guys, this is a chart I'm covered as well. We held support right here and we pushed up from this point. So this is what I'm going to give you your current key support resistance levels to pay attention to. So we'll come back to this chart, guys. I will give you key support resistance levels. But the most important chart that I'm going to cover right now is this one. I'm going to show you why I think it's inevitable that we have a lot more downside. Now, if I zoom into this section, keep in mind this fib circle right here. You can see this. Let me unlock this so I can move it. Where's unlock? Here we go. So this fib circle, all these rings are connected. And this fib circle actually goes back. Price has been respecting it for years. This is how we're able to find the top. This was almost to the dollar, around 65,000. These are the points I said to short every time you hit a line, right? And this is how I knew that this would be a point too short. But I want to zoom in on this section and show you why this is so important. Now, once we hit this ring, all right, so and if you've been following me, you understand how these charts work. I knew that this fib circle was strong support. I told everybody too long at this point, and we hit this point, I said too short. We came down, notice we found support on this ring, right? Once we broke it, notice we hit this point, you got rejected. Once we broke this point, right, we were moving down, we came up, we tested it one more time, and then we came down. I think it's probably going to play out very similar. I mean, it could be a little different, but again, the point is once you break one of these rings, your next target is the ring below. And you can see right now, we've already broken this ring. So I think it's very possible the same thing is going to play out. And I'm going to give you these support resistance levels. So it's possible we could push back up. Once we hit this point, I believe we'll get rejected and come down. Or it's possible that, we can move sideways and hit this point and then come down. We'll have to see, but we know that something major is going to happen soon because we got the FOMC meeting coming up. But this is the next point I'm going to heavy long, and this is the point I'm going to heavy short. I'm going to give you those targets. I just want to explain to you why this is the case. So I'm just going to grab these. I'm going to grab these bars pattern just to show you how well this actually matches. Let's see here. So I'm going to grab it from, let's see, from this point here to this point here. I just want to show you the confluence with this. You know, it could be something like this. We could drop down. Again, this is why I'm going along this point, why I'm going to short this point. We could push back up. Again, I think we'll get rejected at this point, but since we've already broken down below this ring, ultimately your next target is going to be this ring below. I'm going to cover the P1 chart. It's going to give you macro targets. But I think this is how it's going to play out. And had you been following me, you know, I told you way ahead of time. When we came down, this was your support. This was your support. This fib channel line. We hit it 3 times. It was support. Next fib channel line above was resistance, 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 and we came down. And we already know where our next major support level is. It's right here. Let me zoom in. So if we drop, the next point too long is around 17,167, depending when you make contact. That's when I go into heavy long. And it will be a scalp long, guys, because I believe we have a lot more downside. If we push up, the next point going heavy short is going to be this same line right here. Let me make this red. Again, if you get access to the charts, red means short, green means long. When we hit this point, the price depends on when you make contact. We drop straight down to 17,150. Out here, 17,400. That's the next point going into long. If we push up, this next point going heavy short. You need to understand, market makers want to make this as difficult as possible for you to understand what pattern you're in. Let me get rid of this stuff and show what I'm talking about. So we have this chart. We know how important this line is. You notice you get wicks above. You know, we pushed way above this point, came back down. So a lot of people might be looking at this, just to show you an example. So some people might be looking at this, right, and think, okay, well, here's our resistance. Here's our resistance. So we're going to push up and test 30,400 or something like that, right? Or maybe they're looking at it like this, that this was our resistance, and you got, you know, almost a touch right here. So they might see it like this and think, okay, we'll push up and we'll test 21,700. I don't believe that's going to play out. I believe that price is respecting these fib channel lines. Market makers want to push price up a little higher, a little lower, so you don't know what pattern you're in, but we can clearly see how price is respecting these fib channel lines. The ones at this angle here, right? These, as well as these. This one where it was resistance, this one was support, and this is the next support level to watch. And since we broke in the ring, I think we have a lot more downside. So again, that's what I'm saying. We already have price mapped out. We know previously, we know how important this line has been as resistance. Even though we pushed above it, we're back below it. We just broke below this ring. And to me, that means we have a lot of downside. Could we push back above it? Sure. But that means I'll be shorting at 20,128. If we drop, I will be longing 17,260 up to potentially wherever we make contact, 19,515. But at some point soon, we're going to break 17,260, and that's where the P1 chart comes into play. But as I mentioned in that video, I told you at the beginning of this one to watch, where I cover the macro, you'll understand why there's no reason to be bullish. And since we broke this ring, it's even more reason for me to be bearish and expect much lower targets. So I will be scalping longs only, and when I enter a short, I'm entering a short for the big drop. And that is why this point right here is so important, around 20,183, we make contact with this guideline right here. Let's go on. So let me go to this chart. So I'm going to give you the current key support and resistance levels, and I'm going to show you the P1 chart and the Dow Jones. So guys, if you do get access to the charts, just look left, okay? Price has been respecting this fib channel. I'll show you the A1 BT chart and the G1 chart, but you can see that this shows you how to know where to long and short. If you notice right here, we got rejection here, we got a rejection here, there was support right here, a lot of support and resistance right here. You can see it was support and resistance here. So you know if you push up, a scalp short would be right here at 19,500. You can see how price is respecting this line. The next line up is right here at 19,707. Depends when you make contact. But this is how you scalp trade. But I'd like to point out, this fib channel line here, this outlined by yellow trend line, this was our support. So if you come down, you know this will be support again on 18,685. Out here is 18,900. But once you break that point, we can have more downside. But your next point to short is right here at 19,733. If we push above that, well, you can see this next line above right here. Let me zoom in a bit. You see this line right here was support, a lot of resistance, perfect rejection. 3 points is where we all shorted. So you know that 20,000 is going to be very strong resistance. This is how you scalp trade these charts. If you drop down, your support just below is 18,916. You put these on here just so you can see them and screenshot them if you'd like. All right, let me copy and paste this. So just showing you how this works, guys. You just look left, see how price respected the line previously. The more times it was hit, the further back, the more likely it will hold. Notice we're getting rejected right now, right here at 19,524. So these are your current key support resistance levels on the A1 BT chart. This is the G1 chart. This chart was in confluence. This is where we all shorted right here, around 20,119. I showed you earlier in this video. Well, you can see that if we push up, your most likely point to short is around 19,000. Well, if it's just above this, the point you want to short is 20K. And you can see this right here. It was resistance right here, this green line at 20,500. Resistance again at 20,415. Look at all this resistance, 20,142. Tapped it again at 20,100, and we came down. So we know if you push up, a great entry for a scalp short is right around 20K, depending when you make contact. It's not the price labels you play, guys. It's the line. Wherever you make contact, that's where you enter your scalp short, all right? This is for swing trading. Your next resistance just above you, you can clearly see how well this line's been respected, right? So your next point to enter a scalp short just above is right here at 19,560. Your support, the next candle opens, is going to be around 19,133. Your next key support below that is 18,638. And your next major support below is going to be 17,839. This is how you swing trade the charts. But again, I need to make this very clear, and I'll cover this with the Dow Jones. I'm expecting a lot more downside. My macro target to the upside, I do not believe that we'll go higher then around, again, 20,240. So it looks like 20,000 is an ideal point too short. If we push up, this line I think is where we'll get rejected. We've already broken down below this ring. That means we have a lot more downside. The next point I go into scalp long is 17,260, and then we make contact with this point. That's why I go into heavy short, expecting that major next drop to bring us down to some lower targets. Okay, so we covered these charts. The Dow Jones, guys. And this is important. I've got this vertical red line here. This is the FOMC meeting. It'll happen on the 21st. If you watch that video I mentioned previously, I told you how important this ring was right here. It was resistance, 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 came down to support, support, resistance, support. We just broke this ring, guys. And I was telling you, once we break that ring, just like, and it's not a coincidence, we broke this ring on the Dow Jones chart at the same time we just broke this ring on the M1 chart. Together, this is confluence when we have a lot of downside. And I covered why in that one video, why I'm expecting a lot more downside. But if we push up, guys, when that FOMC meeting happens, you know, if it's 1% that they raise interest rates, the markets are going to tank. So pay attention to the Dow Jones. The reason I mapped out the Dow Jones is because it goes further back and have more data versus the NASDAQ and the S&P. But I'm looking, a great point to put in a put for the Dow is 31,163. This support and resistance level right here goes back since the beginning of the Dow. That's how important this resistance level. Well, it was support, now it'll be resistance. And we broke below this ring. So if we push up, it's possible it gets upside for the stock market. We'll get rejected 31,163. Bitcoin will probably be around 20K and then come crashing down. Your next major support for the Dow is around 29,256. But again, to me, it seems like we'll probably get a push up before the FOMC meeting, and then it will come crashing down. Again, I'm only scalping longs, but every short I enter, I'm going to enter that short like that's the next big one because I believe we have a lot of downside. Currently, you can see, well, the Dow, the volatility is insane right now. The Dow was up like 40 points, now it's down 70 points. Follow the indices, guys. Bitcoin follows indices. If the indices are down, Bitcoin's down. Indices up, Bitcoin up. That's just how it works. This here is the P1 chart, guys. This is important. And if you watched that previous video, I went into detail. I'm going to show you one more time why I believe that this is where we're going to bottom. And again, if you do have access to the charts and Bitcoin just starts crashing, the first chart you want to load up is the P1 chart, okay? It's under BTC related. I've shown you this before. These lines are parallel, okay? Let me, if I can grab this line here and put it in the foreground. This red line, every time we bottom, it's on the same damn line that's parallel for every single bear market. It was support, support. We bottomed on that same line. And just to show you, these lines are all parallel. Notice we bottomed on that same line. We bottomed on that same line. This is our support, and that is the line I believe we're going to bottom on. And that is going to be down here, as I've been telling you. This blue ring, this blue fib circle is the same fib circle right here. This orange ring, I just have a different color because I have another fib circle in here so we get confused. But this orange ring is the same blue fib circle right here. And as I told you before, if you've been following me, I said once you break this ring, your next target is this ring. Once you break this ring, your next target is this ring. So I believe the bottom will be here. That's where I'm going into hodl, my hodl position at this point. That is down around 7K. But understand this, and if things get really bad, while I will hodl, while I will buy in right here, and you know we could push up, I'm still going to set a stop loss because if we do break this ring, that means the next point to long or to go in will be this ring below, all right? Whatever happens, I buy every time we hit this red line. If we come back down and test it again, I'll buy right here. But I do believe that this line right here is going to be the bottom for Bitcoin. And, you know, depending on where that bottom is, depends when you make contact and depends what happens with the indices. But again, guys, if you want to sign up for Bigot, my affiliate link's pinned down first comment description. And if you want to access these charts, the website is opcrypto.com. $49 a month. You can access to Bitcoin charts, Discord, and Twitter. That link's pinned down first comment description. That's it, guys. The next video, trade safe, trade smart. I'm out.